Ready to go live. Okay. Just give me a little beta warning or a little beta notification. I guess everything's working. And go 3, 2, and 1. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I am Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean McCool, who is Oso McCool.
So McCool. I need to start using that.
Um,
Got it on the screen. I just got to get in the habit of saying it.
The beard is getting thicker and thicker. I love it.
It is, isn't it? I know. I'm liking it.
It's a good look. It's a really good look.
It's actually growing slower than I thought it would. So, I mean, it's been since 1st of November. I haven't shaved it at all.
Yeah.
I've trimmed a little on the sides, but that's about it. So, yeah, it's getting there. Figure this time next year I'll be good to go.
You'll be
I'll be playoff ready.
Yeah, exactly.
So
almost be like a Zen master, you know. It's like
that's what that's kind of the thing I'm going for. I want to be that Zen master.
Yeah,
you know, guru on the mountain. Sure,
that's it. Well, you got it going.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Zen master, we're going to be talking today about respect and how to get more respect.
What is that? RESPECT.
Yes. Yeah. So
6 magic phrases that persuade and inspire respect. Interesting article that you shared, and we'll get into that. We're going to dig into that from Ing Magazine, and then we're also going to get into some of this latest stuff, AI and what is it,
ChatGPT that's been blowing up the last 2 weeks around the interwebs. So we'll look at that. I've got an interesting mix of people because of my copy background and my coaching and entrepreneurial people I've worked with.
Yeah,
I'm seeing a lot of conversation in my feed on Facebook, especially a lot of longer conversations about the fears, the excitement, it's not that good. It's amazing. Like it's incredible the breadth. But what's really cool, I think, is how much conversation it's starting around this topic. At least in my corner of the internet, it's like people are discussing and actually trying to figure stuff out and where this is going to go and that kind of thing, as opposed to, just taking sides. I mean, they're taking sides, but it seems much more civil.
Yeah, it's early. It's early, so they're discussing.
Yeah,
they have probably a little too early to really just jump on a side completely because you really haven't seen this play out.
Yeah, this is the first step. We had, was it probably 6 months ago, a year ago, we had somebody on the show that had a similar software. We've talked about Jasper and stuff like that, but this is like half a version better.
Yeah,
and it's leading the way for chat. I think GPT-4 is going to come out sometime first quarter of next year, which is supposed to be a huge leap forward. And then when you consider that this version that everybody's been playing with is a scaled down version as far as the amount of information it has to work with.
Right.
Once you factor all those things in, it's pretty impressive in my opinion. But we'll play with it live on air here. We'll give it some prompts and see what it does.
Live interaction here on the show.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. We'll see. Could we use it for some stuff that you do in your work? And it's pretty cool. So
yeah.
But before we get into that, we need to get liquored up. At least you do. So you're going straight to the hard stuff today.
Yeah. So I'm having I'm breaking away from the brewski today, and having a little slow and low coffee old fashioned. This is, let me pull this up here. Oh, there you go. Thank you. This should be interesting. I've just picked this up.
So this is an actual.
I'm not used to this flavored type. These flavored.
Yeah. So is this like the old fashioned cocktail with coffee? So it's actually 3 things. It's like.
Well, that's what I.
That's what you're guessing.
That's what I'm guessing because I love an old fashioned.
Yeah. Because I've bought the old fashioned pre-mixed in the bottle like this before.
Yeah.
So this is slow and low. Got the coffee in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that should be interesting to hear how that goes. So
It says old fashioned. Let's see. The slow and low coffee old fashioned is inspired by the classic New Orleans after dinner drink, little cafe Merlot, straight rye whiskey, intelligentsia coffee, raw honey, demerara. What is that?
I don't know.
We got some
It's got
bitters,
Demerol
some
in it.
orange peel. Yeah, so
Demerol in it.
it's a little Demerol. I've never put that in my my old fashioned. I don't know about you, Sean, but
No.
so yeah, I mean, it's got all of the key ingredients. You know, the bitters, the orange peel, so all the key ingredients of a good old fashioned. So
yeah, I'm just
we
not
shall
sure how
see.
how that works with coffee. It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's the wild card. By the way, this segment of the show is sponsored by the original Craft Beer Club.
The guys, the originals.
And if you're looking for a last minute Christmas gift, it might be the thing to do. You can go to persuasionbythepint.com/craft beer. It'll take you to this page you see. And I was looking through it, and you hit the old give a gift button when you land on that page.
Right.
And you have the option of sending. You can do an ongoing until you want to cancel, until they're off your nice list.
Yeah.
You can do 2 shipments, 3 shipments, 4 shipments, 6 or 12 as a gift.
Look at that.
And so, yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's the gift that just keeps on giving, depending on what you buy. Now, if it's a one-off, it's just it's a one and done. But I've given these in the past. These are great gifts to your clients. Obviously, you want to check to make sure they are beer connoisseurs first.
Yes.
But I used to have a client that would just love this. That he was a beer connoisseur, did the Untapped rating, used the app. You know, he was like one of these scorekeepers in terms of every new beer that he got a hold of. It was just like another rating or another score.
It's a little hobby for some people, So
absolutely.
Just want to make sure, like you said, you want to make sure they're not on the abstinence train in 2023 before you.
That's right.
Before you send that over, but. So yeah, keep that in mind. It's persuasionbythepint.com/craft beer.
Craft beer.
We'll take you right to that page. And if you buy something, we'll get like 15 cents for when you buy it. So.
By the way, this smells amazing. So if it's hard
to screw up the smell of coffee.
Oh, I know.
I mean, let's be real.
If it tastes anything like what it smells, then I think we're in for some good things.
All right. Well, let me pull mine up so you can get to it. I've got from Hoppin' Frog. I've got a barrel aged frosted frog Christmas ale.
Ooh.
So all their stuff is frog related at the Hoppin' Frog. So this is their seasonal blend. It's the essence of Christmas is deliciously transposed onto your palate. Loads of cinnamon, ginger, and nutmeg are perfectly balanced with rich malt flavors. The bourbon barrel aging adds a deep complexity, creating the ultimate Christmas experience. Celebrate the holidays as you savor this special seasonal offering. Back to you, Pat. Like a Wheel of Fortune. It's like a Wheel of Fortune read.
Exactly. That looks good. So you got this at AT? Is it ATV?
No, this was at Total Wine.
Okay. Yep. Total Wine. Gotcha.
Yeah, and here's
good stuff.
Here's the can.
Mm-hmm. Is that a single or a 4-pack?
This was a single. They had them singles, so that was nice.
Okay, good deal.
And it's an ale, so it's but it's a deep ale. Like you can see the colors.
Oh yeah,
nice and deep. Nice, almost like a Scotch ale. I'm hoping that it's more like a Scotch ale. That would be good. So,
all right.
Well,
Let's find out.
Mine's 8.6. Yours is like 40%. So.
That's right. I'm going to be pouring maybe 2 of these. Ooh, that's good.
Mine is malty. It definitely has more of a Scotch ale. As soon as I saw the color, I was like, oh, this looks like a Scotch ale. And it tastes like a Scotch ale. Very flavorful. I think the nutmeg is kind of the strongest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the malt. So it's kind of the mix of the malt and the nutmeg. And then a little bit of bourbon finish with the kind kind of the punch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's pretty good. We'll see how it continues to develop, but go ahead and give your score while I think about mine.
I'm going to give this one a solid 4.8. It's really good. Probably would get even higher if I had it on the rocks, which is what I normally would drink this on, is the rocks, which I always get made fun of, but that's okay. That's how I roll. I like.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I might do
like
one
my bourbon. I like my whiskeys on the rocks.
I might do like
usually one big rock. I
Yeah,
got the,
exactly.
round rock.
The craft ice.
Yeah,
you can get it. Yeah. Do you have like one of the craft ice makers?
I
Like
got the
silicone molds.
I've got the molds that
that
do the round.
Yeah, that does make a difference. It keeps it from watering down as fast.
No, it's fantastic. It perfectly fits in the glass. So you just you can spin that bad boy once you set it in. You spin it like a little
fidget
cue ball. Yeah,
fidget spinner.
And then you just pour your bourbon right around that, and especially if you're making an old fashioned, it's the perfect thing to go with.
Yeah, pour everything over it. Yeah,
put that little if you're careful, you put that beautiful slice of orange peel just right around the edge of that
so
ball
classy.
of ice.
So classy.
But no, this is definitely a 4.7. It's got a nice, you can taste the coffee. It's got a nice balance, the sweetness with the coffee.
Makes
and
sense.
You get a little bit of the the citrusy with the orange peel after. So I like it. It's a nice combination.
Nice. Very cool. Might definitely have to try
that. And this is the first time I even noticed it on a shelf. Well, I just saw this. It stuck out to me, and I said, something different. I'm going to try this.
Yeah. All right. Good move. I'm going to give mine a 4.0. I think it's good, but not great. But it's solid. And like I said, it leans more towards a Scotch ale kind of taste to me. If you're not familiar with bourbon or the barrel aged, so that's my rating. 4
on the dot. I will give a little. I'm going to go back on mine, and I will say that my rating is based off the fact that if you don't like an old fashioned, I think that's that's my rating. That's not what somebody else is not a fan of bourbon or whiskey or any of the mixed drinks like an old fashioned. You may not like this, but if you're a fan of a good old fashioned
and coffee,
I think you would really, and coffee, I think you'd really love this.
Yeah, I'm a fan of both those, so I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad you cleared that up because I know our ratings carry a lot out there in the marketplace.
They do. So, we could face probably some serious legal
move
action
markets.
If
we move markets around here for sure.
That's right.
We've gotten calls. It's like, hey, guys, settle down.
Easy.
Our sales dropped last quarter because you gave us a 3.
And that's why we never officially put our rating on the show page, just so we can what? Wait, I don't know what you're talking about.
Plausible deniability, always. So, all right. Well, let's talk about respect. So,
absolutely.
I was scrolling through the old Googles on my phone, and it's got the feed that has all these different types of articles based on the type of articles I click on. Georgia stuff, Bulldog stuff, and then all this persuasion psychology stuff, all kinds of weird stuff mixed in. And I thought this was pretty good because I agree. When I write copy, when I talk to people in coaching, a lot of people think, oh, what do people want in life? They want money, they want love, they want security, they want purpose. But respect is right up there with all of those.
Sure.
If not higher than a lot of those. A lot of, especially men, really want respect.
Bingo. Yeah.
Exactly. Obviously, a woman wrote the song respect or sang the song respect. So I guess women want respect too. So I don't want to get canceled, but that's it seems to be a big deal. So we're gonna talk about respect and how to get it. And there's basically 3 basic understandings that these phrases, this language that we're going to talk about is based off of. And number 1 is people respect people who demonstrate self-respect.
Self-respect. Yeah, exactly.
So and there's a certain language pattern that you can use for that to show up. people are less likely to disrespect people who respect them, right? So if Jonathan, if you're talking to me and I can sense by your language that you respect me, I'm less likely to disrespect you.
Sure.
Classic reciprocity, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
And then number 3, we communicate our respect for ourselves and others predominantly by the language we use.
Oh,
So
so true.
that's what we're gonna
So
unpack.
true. And this works so well. I mean, if you go, when we unpack these, you can apply situations in conversations, not only with the people that you are, friends, family, people get together during the holidays.
Yep.
They have conversations, all sorts of things can go one way or another based on the kind of language that you use. And then, but also, from a business standpoint, you get into negotiation.
Yeah.
And this is where really, a lot of this, it's all about, some of this is about taking the higher ground, so to speak, and positioning. And I tell you, man, this stuff is really good from a positioning standpoint when you're talking to people. But it's also not it's not a gimmick, it's just, these are principles and it works.
What I liked about this article is the way they broke these down. Sometimes when you get into these type of articles, the language can be a little tough to pull off.
Sure.
Feels a little forced. It feels like if you've ever watched like a good rom-com and the couple has been to couples therapy and they're using the therapy words and the therapy phrases and it comes off just very like,
Yeah.
just, it's in the rom-com for a reason. It sounds weird and funny, right?
Right.
I thought they did a good job with some of the examples in this article of making it sound just, very interactive, the way you would say it, which means you're more likely to use it.
Sure.
So
yeah.
Maybe we can even ask the old ChatGPT the top couple phrases. We'll do that afterwards on respect. So remind me to ask Chat about respect.
Respect.
So, all right. So what's number 1? Like what's the first of the 6 phrases that we can use to garner a little more respect?
All right. So first is, and we think of any negotiation situation, in so many instances, one party, in a conversation simply decides to go along with the other person, what the other person suggests.
Yep.
But emotionally intelligent people understand that there's rarely a downside to asking for something in return. So I think that's a big mistake that most people make in any negotiation setting, is not making conditions or not, asking what they need. Right.
Yeah.
And here's an example. Number 1, I can do what you ask on condition that we blank. Right.
Yep.
And so, you're giving them a condition. We've talked about in the past, one of the most powerful words in the English language is the word because.
Yeah.
So this is another way of asking, what your conditions are on the condition that we do this. And sometimes we might need to back that up with it because, but we always need to, in order to garner respect from the other party in a negotiation situation, everybody wants to save face. So one of the ways that you're saving face, even if you don't need it, you need to come away with something, right?
Yeah.
Some people may not, and some people are afraid to ask, but you don't get the respect or you don't garner the position in the negotiation unless you ask for that, or not ask for it, actually make a condition on the condition.
And what this does is it kind of, when you're in a negotiation position or sales or, just negotiating with a family member, your spouse, whatever, teenagers even, it makes them feel good. It feels like they got respect, right? Because they got what they wanted. But you're kind of turning around and adding a requirement so that respect kind of stays level, right? Otherwise, they can feel like they got you, even if they're not consciously aware of it. So it just kind of puts you back on that level with them, right? So a couple of examples that they gave.
And if you understand the law, the reciprocity, law of
Yeah,
reciprocity,
that's really what this
if
is.
it's really what this is. I mean, if you really understand the law of reciprocity and influence, then you understand that this will work, because by
I mean,
nature, people want to respond or repay.
I think this is
Um,
great for teenagers too. I mean, you got
mhm.
teenagers, but like,
Oh, I use it for my youngest all the time. My oldest sometimes, but it works for my oldest all the time, because he's very demanding. He's a classic negotiator.
yeah.
He will push. He's type A. He will push, push,
So, what's an
push.
example of how you would use this with him?
Um, so situation, he wants to uh I'm trying to think. So
Borrow the car, go
yeah,
somewhere.
sometimes I'm trying to think of a recent situation where he has a curfew on the
Mhm,
weekend of 11 o'clock. But there's been times where he's been with some friends and he calls ahead of time. And I think one situation in particular, was just a few weeks ago. He was over at some friends that we knew of. And he was going to be a little bit later. He texted me and said, "We're just finishing up." They were playing some kind of card game. And he said, "We've got one more round." Okay.
mhm.
Um, so I'm like, okay. So he called, I said, "Here's the deal. As long as you text me at the moment that you're leaving, then I'll give you an extra 30 minutes or something like that." So, I had to have a condition.
Right,
It was all right with me, but I had to have something in return. And he was like,
right.
"Okay, I will." So
Otherwise, next time he pushes a little further, a little
right,
further, a little further. Next thing you
exactly.
know, it's 3 a.m. You know,
So I gave him an extra 30 minutes on the condition that he texted me, when he was leaving, just so I knew, when he
right. So you
was
maintain
heading.
control in the
Right.
situation, ultimate
Exactly.
control,
Yeah.
and so yeah, that's a great example. Um,
Yeah.
one of the examples they gave in the article is, I'm happy to help you with your chore this afternoon, but I'll need you to do the same for me tomorrow.
Right.
You could see that work in a lot of situations at, in the workplace.
Yep.
Hey, I'm happy to help you, with this report, but I'm going to need your help next Friday
Sure.
on this, sure. Why not? Now, whether that
Absolutely.
person follows through, that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Another good example they used was, yeah, I can go with you, but can we pick up my friend too? Right.
Sure.
Or, hey, I'm happy to, take you to. I remember when I was in the military, it was always most guys didn't have a car. A few did. So like
Hmm.
whoever had the car, there was this. We had this thing, you fly, I buy.
Yeah,
Did you?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
whoever had the car would drive, and then
Yep.
whoever was getting the ride would buy that person who was driving a meal.
Absolutely.
That
Yeah.
was just that was the phrase for it. You fly, I buy.
Hmm.
And everybody knew what that meant. But that was a sign of mutual respect. Like, hey, I know
Right.
you've got a car that I don't have.
Right.
I'm willing. I know that's a problem. I mean, like, I know the value of that, so I'm going to buy your meal if you'll take me to get one.
Sure.
Um,
Yep.
just classic respect.
Yep. Absolutely.
And from a more business standpoint, they gave a good like customer service example, and I remember this when I did in home sales. I'll never forget this one time I was doing in home sales. I did my whole presentation. I threw out my price, like all this stuff, and then this guy like leaves the room and he comes back in with a coupon. And he'd already haggled me down. Like, he'd gotten me. Like, he
Oh
won,
man.
and
Yeah.
then he comes in and pulls out the coupon, and I'm like, crap.
Because you've already taken so much meat off the
Yeah.
bone there. So it's like you left just enough, you
Yeah. So
know.
basically, we were working for free at that point, for cost. And
Right. Oh man.
I didn't know that, some of these things then. This was 15, 20 years ago almost.
Right. Right.
And like, but it's like the example in the article was, sure, we can honor that coupon, but we'll need to schedule your service on one of these
Hmm.
days. Like, I could have said something like, sure, we can honor that coupon, but we're going to need to schedule you out, 3 months.
Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I've
Right.
already agreed to the price. So it was hard to go back on that.
Hmm.
But I could have done something with production and pushed it back and then let him decide if it was worth the wait or if he'd pay the regular price, or,
Right.
and go ahead and move forward.
Yep.
Um, but I didn't have those skills at that point. So we lost.
Mhm.
We did not do well on that job. So because that was a construction industry, so
Yep.
margins are already ridiculously tight. One
Absolutely.
mistake can
That's right.
screw everything up. So
Yep.
it was tough. Um,
And this guy knew what he was doing, breaking out the coupon
oh yeah,
after.
yeah,
I
oh yeah,
mean,
yeah.
he had it
He
all
worked me
planned
over
out.
good. That was a that was a really good sales call from the standpoint that I learned a lot on that call.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's one of those.
That's part of it.
I remember taking the contract back to my dad, and he was excited until I told him the details. He's like, oh. So
we can't. That's going to be tough.
Yeah. And we ended up doing it, but the whole job ended up being, of course, that was a red flag too, right? When somebody
Sure.
does that to you,
Yeah.
and the whole job ended up being kind of a disaster. But well,
Yeah.
live and learn. It was a
That's
cash
right.
flow. It was a cash flow job at that point.
Sure. And
All right, so
sometimes
moving
that's
on.
what you need. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on. Number 2.
Thank you for X or blank, but I'd like to do blank or Y instead. So, boy, this is tough for some people because I mean, really, you have to really have, you have to. Some people, I know that some people would be uncomfortable, saying this, and they're because I think they're more of from an. If I were to think from an Enneagram standpoint, I know.
Oh yeah.
Because I've got these people pegged easily,
Yeah.
and I know like
This one
nines,
is harder to,
especially for nines, like nines, because my youngest son's I think he's more of a 9. He may be a little mixture of a 5 and a 9, but
yeah.
there are aspects of 9 that he would feel uncomfortable. Some
if you're
people would
any
just
kind
like
of
to
people
be very
pleaser,
polite and saying, yeah.
yeah, if you're any type of people pleaser, this one's going to be hard for you.
Yeah.
But if you can learn to do it, it'll be really powerful and it'll really help your own self-esteem and help you get the respect
Right.
that you want.
Yep.
Because the only reason you're people pleasing is because you want the respect.
Mhm.
You think that's what's going to get it, but it's actually the opposite. It's standing up for yourself that will create the respect.
Right. And the key though in this is to say, because you can't do this in a polite way of like,
you
saying
have to
no thank you.
Way. Yeah.
So you can say thank you for offering this, but I would like
Mhm.
to do this instead. And it's subtle. Politeness, kind of that subtle aspect of politeness. But you're acknowledging, thank you. You're acknowledging their effort by saying thank you. But it's okay, from that point on that you've acknowledged their effort to offer a solution. You're not, thank you, but you want to move in a different direction. So,
yeah, and it could be something as simple as, just to give this some real world things. So let's say somebody says, "Hey, why don't we go grab a burger at Hardee's, wherever."
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't really feel like Hardee's, but I would like to go out and spend some time with the person, but Hardee's isn't really my thing. So it's like, so what do you say? Well, you say, "Hey, thanks for offering to take me to Hardee's. I'd like to," and you could say, to soften a little bit, you could say, "Would it be okay if we went to Wendy's instead?"
Yeah.
Right? Or we went to Taco Bell, or we went to Chick-fil-A or wherever instead. Right?
Yeah.
As long as it's kind of comparable, most people are going to be okay. Or worst case, you start a little bit of a negotiation process and a kind of a back and forth until you find the medium
Right.
ground. And that's really what this is. It's like, okay, that doesn't fit for you, but you have to say thank you and you have to offer a suggestion. You can't just leave it at,
yeah. That's the important thing.
work.
Offer a suggestion, because you can't just be the snotty person that says thanks, but I don't do that. Like, like we were watching.
I'm vegan. It's like, oh, I can't do Hardee's. I'm vegan.
It's like we were watching. Yeah, we were watching the movie. My boys and I last night, we stayed up and watched the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with
classic
Steve Martin.
Oh,
it's a great holiday movie, even though it's a Thanksgiving. It's a fantastic holiday movie. But he says, when they're at the airport and they first meet, he says, they're introducing themselves, and John Candy realizes he'd taken his taxi cab, not realizing he had paid for it, but he said, let me make up for it. Let me, let me buy you a hot dog, or, let me buy you a drink and a hot dog or something like
Yeah.
that. And he goes, it's funny because Steve Martin's character, he goes, thanks, but I'm really careful about what I eat. So that's not how you would,
Yeah.
that's not exactly how you would approach that. Cause that's more of a condescending,
Exactly.
it's like,
So
you're
then
just
you're
kind of
not you're
dismissing them.
right, you're not giving them respect.
Right.
And the whole point of these 6 things is that you got to give respect to get respect, right?
Exactly.
And then you have and you stand your ground. It's a combination of standing your ground for what you want, giving them respect, acknowledging what they want, and having that
Yep.
adult relationship instead of one person
Exactly.
domineering the other. That's
Yep.
really what this is
Exactly.
about.
Right.
So number 3 is I only have a minute, but
Dot, dot, dot.
I thought this was interesting because they said it came out of like the dating, niche, like the dating
Interesting.
courses and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
Um, but what it does is it kind of sets the tone. Um,
That you
and
respect your time. Like,
yeah, I've got time. I'm busy. Um, so let's say, especially in workplaces, or even if somebody, hits you on a chat or messenger
mhm,
or whatever, like with all our work from home stuff,
mhm,
it's like, I only have a minute, but
mhm,
I'd be willing to give you, I'd be willing to give you, I only have a minute right now, but I'd be willing to give you 15 minutes on
mhm.
Tuesday,
Right.
or this afternoon or something like that. So you're just keeping control. A lot of, when I was reading this too, I automatically thought about, pitch, what was it? Pitch anything or with,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Right.
Warren or whoever that is.
Um,
The
yes, Orin,
Hatch. Is it Orrin
yes, I
Hatch?
believe Orrin
Something
Hatch.
like that.
That
Is that
sounds like
right?
a senator, Orrin Hatch,
Oh,
I think.
that is a center. Woo. We just lost respect from our audience.
No, it is Orin, though, but I forgot
Yeah,
the guy's last name.
yeah.
Um,
But anyway, it's Pitch Anything, I think, is the book.
yes. Yep.
It was
And
popular like 5 years ago. It was super popular.
mhm.
Maybe a little less than that, 'cause I think we've covered it on the show at least once.
Yeah, we have.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's kind of that,
It's like Claff, Orin Claff or something like that,
clef.
I
There it
think.
is. That's it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, he uses that example a lot. And I
Yeah.
love this because this is another one that people that are people pleasers, another area where, people have an issue or have a problem just because they're afraid to use this. But this actually people respect you more when you set boundaries on your time, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
This is also a
um,
good ice. The reason it was in the dating niche is because you can use it as an icebreaker, right? So you can go up to
absolutely.
somebody and be like, "Hey, excuse me, I only have a minute, but I just wanted to let you know, uh, whatever your
Yeah.
compliment or whatever
Sure.
your thing is,"
Yep.
and then you can just walk away,
Oh
right?
yeah.
It's like
Absolutely.
you're kind of putting off this a little bit of air of superiority, but at the same time trying to be
Yes.
friendly.
Absolutely.
It's kind of
Oh,
that.
this works well in sales, negotiation. I mean, sales all the time is like you reach out to somebody, listen, I only have a minute, but if you've got, um, but if you'd like, if you're trying to ask for their time,
Hmm.
sometimes you want to set their understanding that you only have so much time too,
I'm busier
right?
than you are, buddy.
Exactly.
My life's
I know
more
you don't have a lot of time, but I have even less time than you. Okay.
exactly. That's right. The badge of busy. Wear it proudly.
And sometimes I use a reverse aspect of that to make people feel important,
Hmm.
and you can do that and also make yourself
For example, give me
still
an example of that.
um hi Sean, I realize your time, you're pretty busy. This is a busy time of year for you. Blah blah blah. You've got a million things going right now, I'm sure.
Hmm.
But I've got a few minutes. If you have maybe a couple of minutes too, there's something really quick I'd like to share with you. That I think may be able to help you. Um, and usually I make an out. In that sales process. If he doesn't have a minute, I'll make an out. Like if you don't have time now, where can you find time? Where do you think you can find time, later this week or later in the day today?
Yeah,
Right.
and
So
like you said, what you're doing is you're acknowledging, you're respecting them first, which is what we said at the top of this
yes.
kind
Right.
of article,
Yeah.
is that you're respecting them first,
Mhm.
so that they will reciprocate and be like, well, he was kind enough to, he knows I'm busy.
Right.
He's just doing his job. Like,
Mhm.
once you acknowledge that they're busy and you understand that they're interrupting. My buddy RC, one time he his cold call script, he used to do a lot of cold calling. And
Yeah.
one of the phrases he gave me one time was, he said, if you ever want to cold call people, use this. He said, hey, you don't know me, but this is a cold call. Like, that's your first words out of the gate.
It's
You
a
don't
cold
know
call.
me,
Yeah.
and this is a cold call.
Right.
But here's what's going on.
Well, pattern interruption. There you go.
Yeah, it's
It's
like,
like,
okay, yeah, he knows that I know that this cold call, and like, it kind of levels the playing field really
mhm.
quick. And the honesty and all that stuff that comes through, the authenticity of that
Sure.
is refreshing for most
Yeah.
people.
Yep.
So that's a good one. Here's another one that could be tough for the
Mhm.
people pleasers, the 9s on the Enneagram. I disagree.
I disagree. Yeah.
Whew, that's
No one
that's
likes
gonna
to
be
say that,
that's gonna be.
especially in a crowd, right?
So after I read this article, I practiced it. I tell you, a good place to practice this actually is on social media
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
comments. Like, if you can
I
learn
feel
to,
like there's a lot of that on
yeah,
social media
but if
already.
you can do it with respect, it's a
Sure.
good
Yeah.
place to practice, because you've got a little time where you can kind of craft your words,
Mhm.
and you can use these phrases to kind of practice. And you'll notice, if you do this on social media and things like that, you'll notice that you don't die, or you don't blow up, or you don't explode. Like,
Mhm.
people actually are fine with you disagreeing
Right.
at the end of the day. Like, you'll get a few crazies out there, obviously, that, depend on the topic. But if you do it the way we're talking about,
Mhm.
um, so I practiced this. Like, soon as after I read this article, I was actually in the AI conversation. There's a lot of back and forth, and I would read somebody's thing, and I would be like, I disagree, period. And then I would give my
Sure.
statement,
Right.
so that, you know, and I might say I agree, or I would say, like, I agree with this, but I disagree with this, this, and this. Right. So I
Right.
might find 2 points I agree with, and then 3 points I
Mhm.
disagree with. And it just shows that you're willing to stand your ground in the conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And people will respect that, even if they still disagree. The point of it, and here's, I think, important. You're not saying I disagree to change their mind.
Mm-mm. No.
You're saying I disagree to show that you respect yourself.
Sure.
That's really the point of this, right?
Mhm.
Because remember, when we talked at the top of the article, it's like, one of the things you want to do, we communicate our respect for ourselves and others predominantly by the language we use, and people are less likely to disrespect people who respect themselves, or show
Right.
their own self-respect. So that's really what this is about. You're saying, I disagree.
Yeah.
And then what you follow up is obviously very important. How you follow that up is important.
Yep.
But people actually value people who are willing to stand, because so few people are willing to do that.
Absolutely.
That when you say, I disagree, period, and then pause. I mean, you
Mhm.
know this, Jonathan. Like, if somebody's in a boardroom and they kind of misconstrue your words, or they say something that's not quite true,
Yep.
if you don't speak up, it's going to affect that relationship from there on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you have to step in and be like, I disagree. That's not,
Mm.
or that's actually not accurate.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why.
Right.
Or let me tell you what I found.
Mhm.
You know.
Yep.
So there's a lot of ways you can go after I disagree.
Yeah. Always important to give the reason and not just
Yeah.
disagree.
Yeah.
Then
Because
that just makes you a little cantankerous person that.
Yeah, you can't just leave it there. You can have a nice, effective pause.
Yeah, and I think that's even more powerful
Yeah.
if you have a pause. I disagree. And then, like, let that kind of sink in.
Yeah, and then it's like, and let me tell you why.
Yep.
And then you can do the feel, felt, found. You can do a lot of other
Mhm.
things, but
Yeah.
it's like, there's a good phrase in this. It says, let's see. Disagreeing is sometimes about articulating and expending your opposition, while recognizing that sometimes you want to go along with the things you disagree with anyway. So sometimes you may be willing to go along with what they're saying, but you still need to say, I disagree with this this plan of action,
Right.
but I'm committed to what the team is committed to, and I will carry forward. But I want to be on the record say I disagree with this.
Yeah.
So if you're in a more corporate environment, it's a great way to go ahead and say out, say, look, I disagree. I don't think this is the best path.
Mm-hmm.
Here's why. I don't
Right.
really have a better solution, and I'm willing to commit to whatever the team agrees to. But I just want everyone to know I disagree.
Just want to throw that out and make sure everybody knows I'm not on board.
Yeah. So when this thing hits a wall,
exactly.
but yeah, I mean, and people will respect that. They'll remember that when things go crazy.
Yeah.
If
Mm-hmm.
you tried everything and nothing worked, and they're like, "Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan said he disagreed and this wasn't going to work," but
Right.
we didn't listen. So then next time it comes around, now they're going to want your opinion ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this stuff is not just for any given conversation. This is because respect is not a transactional thing. Respect is a relational thing, right? We don't
no
really,
doubt.
we don't really care about respect if it's a one-off transaction. Like,
Sure.
we'd like it, but whatever. Like, it's not going to change our life. But if we're in an ongoing relationship with somebody or want to be, then respect matters.
Right. Yep.
All right, number 5.
Here's the plan, right?
Yeah.
Here's the plan. So I love this because, I mean, people, especially I know type A people, but this is a very persuasive phrase for a lot of people. If you're in a situation, especially with a group of people, here's the plan. People kind of gravitate. People with high emotional intelligence understand that people are always looking for a leader, right?
Yep.
And so, especially if you're in a group of people, most of the people are not in a group setting, are not leaders by nature. So they're going to gravitate to the person who has a plan, even if it's not a great plan. If you say you have a plan, people will follow you, right?
Yeah. Or at least hear you out.
Exactly. And it's got to be, right. They'll hear you out, and it's got to be somewhat, legitimate. I mean, it's got to be a decent plan of action. But say you're in the middle of I think of the first situation that comes to mind. If you're in the middle of a car, or you're driving along and there's a car wreck in front of you, you get out, there's a lot of people on the scene. There's people that are injured, maybe it's a 2-car wreck, two vehicles are involved. People are standing around panicked, and someone says, here's the plan, right?
You call 911.
Exactly.
Blah, blah, blah.
You get on 911. If you've got a tourniquet or something like that, or something that you can find in your vehicle that will help tie off this wound, I need you to grab that.
Yeah.
You do this, you start giving, here's what we're going to do. And people will naturally jump to it. People aren't going to argue in a situation like that because they're looking for, they got to do something. Right. So,
well, even
now, if you say, here's the plan, we're all just going to go back to our vehicles and pretend like nothing has happened and just go about our that people are
don't
not
tell anybody. We're not going to tell anybody this happened.
Right.
No pictures.
That's
no reels.
That's not a good plan. And people are just going to say, you're an idiot. So you have to be somewhat, have an understanding of the situation and have a good plan of action.
Yeah, and I think so. A less drastic,
the assertiveness,
a less drastic example of that is something and I notice this all the time, and I talk with people when I'm coaching them around this. It's amazing how often we, and I include myself in that, leave loose ends in conversations.
Right.
Especially in business conversations, it's absolutely amazing. And if you're the person who says, you're in a conversation and there's a next step, and this, Jonathan, from sales, if you don't solidify and make a plan for the next contact, the chances of it happening go way, way, way down.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Right.
So if you just had a good conversation, whether it's the 1st or the 10th or whatever, but there's another conversation, it's like, okay, here's the plan. I'm going to call you next Tuesday at 3 p.m. to see where you're at on this issue.
Right.
Like, that's not a huge life-changing plan, but it's a plan where a lot of people would be like, all right, well, I'll let you think about this and I'll get back to you, next week.
Yeah.
That's not a plan. That's
No.
a wish.
Exactly.
That's a
Yeah.
hope. But to say, hey, I did this. I was on a coaching call today, prospective coaching client, and, pitched my thing, made my offer, and it just kind of hangs out there, right? Because they don't want to commit. They've got to find the money and all this other stuff. So then the next step for me is as a coach, because I got to show leadership in that first call, or
Sure.
else why would they hire me? Right.
Yep.
So I'm like,
Exactly.
okay, so what's the next step from here? And they're
Mhm.
like, I got to think about this. And I was like, I tell you what, and that's what I do. Then I set a second appointment.
Mhm.
The second time, it's like, well, let me ask you this: about how much time do you think you're going to need? What are the things you need to think about? And then let's figure out a day next week that would give you sufficient time to think this through and to come up with either your next set of questions, a yes or a no.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. And I say, all right, is Friday at 3 p.m. enough time for you? And they're like, yes. I'm like, are
Mhm.
you sure?
Mhm.
Because if you need more time, I'm happy to give you more time. What I don't
Sure.
want is for you to be running away from me and hiding
Yeah.
Friday at 3.
Right.
So if you need Tuesday, the following Tuesday, then let's do that. Right. So I give them full autonomy and full power. I show them full respect
Mhm.
for whatever their decision process is. But then once they agree, now they're committed.
Right.
Right. And we've settled on a plan.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So what is the
Also, one
last?
thing real quick is and this is not a sexist comment at all, but I
Uh-oh.
just want to say that
Right, hold on. Let me find the censor button.
I just want to say that having a confidence and having a plan of action are very they're attractive, like guys out there that are listening, males out there that are listening. Women gravitate to people that have a plan and have confidence. That's just that's
I
just
think other men
natural.
do too. I mean, I honestly, I think
Oh yeah,
it's a
people
form.
naturally.
It's just a form of leadership. That's all it
Absolutely.
is.
Yep.
Right. So when you say we're gonna get back together on this date at this time, and it's
Mhm.
finite and it's clear,
Right.
people are not used to that,
Yep.
especially today. Right. I mean, where everybody's like, they don't want to commit to anything. I
Mhm.
mean, I watch my daughter, and she's 22. She's on some of these dating apps and stuff, and like a lot of these, her whole generation does not want to commit to a time, or they're like,
Mm.
yeah, maybe we can get together, and yeah,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah,
maybe
it's
tomorrow,
loose. Yeah, exactly.
because
There's no
everybody's waiting for their better option,
yeah, exactly.
and nobody's taking leadership.
Right.
So if you can take leadership in the next step, man, there's a lot of respect that happens for that. And if you can be
Exactly.
clear and articulate it,
Yeah.
I promise you, it really, really stands out.
Right. Oh yeah. There's an attractive quality of somebody that knows where they're going and what's going to happen. Right. I mean, it's just law of
And
attraction there.
and what happens is when they agree to that and they're like, yes, there's actually on their end, they actually get a sense of relief,
Yep.
right? Because the
Exactly.
decision's been made. It's not one more piece of decision out there that has to be made. Like the decision's made. We're going to make a decision by Friday at 3 p.m.
Right.
Right. They're not worrying about it the whole week. They're like,
Mhm.
okay, I just know I got till Friday at 3 p.m. As opposed to I've got some nebulous time to make the decision, which is an energy suck.
Mhm.
And people don't realize how much energy that takes to just saw this comment and it just made me laugh. So as I saw I disagree at the top, I didn't even read the rest of it. I was like, I disagree with anyone who doesn't think you're both creating great content on the topic of persuasion. It's been fun using your live chat to start the weekend right with some wisdom and a pint. Thanks, Brent.
Yeah. Who disagrees? I don't know of anyone that disagrees.
Nobody disagrees with this show. Nobody.
All
right. That's good stuff, Brent. I appreciate
all right.
that.
So what's our last
number
what's
6?
our last point? Number 6.
I'd like to ask ... I'd like to ask.
I'd like to ask.
So I use a similar thing. I say I'm curious.
That's the one that I use. I'm
Yeah.
curious. I always use that in whether it's emails or in conversation.
My wife is probably listening to the show, and
Mm-hmm.
she knows I use that on her.
Yep.
Like, I'm curious, or I've got this idea, but I think it's probably a little out there. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
how I always set her up, and she's
Yep.
aware of it now.
Right.
So she'll probably comment here in a minute if she's not watching some other funnier
Mm-hmm.
TikTok or something
Right.
else, something more engaging. But yeah, I'd like to ask ... And here's a couple other variations on it. Can I ask your opinion on? I meant to ask you how your
How
visit
your visit
went,
went.
how
Yep.
whatever went, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
I like to ask for your forgiveness. That's a big one. That's a
Yeah.
totally to me that's a little bit different, but that's one they put in the article.
Yeah.
But I'd like to ask for your permission. Um, that could work in certain situations. In the coaching circle, they always say never coach where there's no request for coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people don't know to request, right? So we say, hey, would it be okay if I gave you a little coaching around this?
Right.
So you give them the power to say yes or no. And it gives them some authority, and it creates that mutual respect.
Yep.
But what you're doing is you're at in all of these forms, you're basically asking permission to continue the conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you say I'm curious, it's showing that you're curious, but you're not demanding
Mm-hmm.
an answer, right? I'm
Yeah.
curious of what you think about this,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to, hey, tell me what you think about this,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is a different tone, a different, different feeling. So anytime you can say that, I think that's interesting that you've kind of come to the same conclusion that I'm curious is probably a really,
Yeah.
that's our
Yeah. I
I
use
think
that
that's
one
the
a lot.
Columbo.
I'm curious in sales.
It's like a
And it's
Columbo.
usually one of those Columbo-esque
Yeah.
type situations where you're walking out the door and
It's
you're
a-
scratching your head.
Oh, by the way,
curious.
I'm curious.
Yeah, you're
Saw
scratching
that.
your head. Here's another one is can I and this one kind of pertains to it, but asking favors. I mean, you'd be amazed that people will do you favors if they're
Mhm.
small favors.
Yeah.
But if you have to ask, and it starts with, can I ask you a small favor? And usually this works in a small favor type situation.
Yeah.
But if you need someone to do something for you, try to make it small. And people are more inclined to that's a lot of that just shows an amazing sense of high emotional intelligence if you can simply ask for someone, either ask for their opinion or ask for a small favor, and most people will give it to you, right?
Yep.
They're not going to turn you down. I mean, almost 9.9 times out of 10, when I ask somebody, can I ask you a real small favor?
Yeah.
Usually it's not something, there's an intention behind that I'm asking.
Yeah.
And it's usually small enough that it doesn't take too much of their time. Right. And they're more than happy to, if I ask, but you have to ask.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Most people don't ask.
And what's funny, if you get really good at that, I remember doing this when I used to do in-home sales, right?
Yeah.
This was like, internet was not really around that much. Like, it was pre-apps for sure, pre-iPhone for sure.
Yep.
And I was traveling all across Texas. I mean, we were still using MapQuest. If you were lucky, MapQuest would work, but mostly it was maps.
Yeah.
I
remember MapQuest, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, but even today, if I was doing it today and I was doing in-home stuff, I might do something like I'd kind of finish with my appointment, and whether it went well or it didn't, but I know there's an opportunity still there. I might do something like, "Hey, Jonathan, I really appreciate your time today. I was wondering if I could ask you one more small favor."
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because I want to leave with the upper hand, and I want to kind of leave with the respect. And I was like, and I want them to feel a little bit of control too, in case I need to get back in the door. I'd be like, "Could you give me directions to a good restaurant in town?" That has nothing to do with the actual transaction, but it makes them feel good about whatever went down that day.
Yeah.
And it keeps the door open. And I can't tell you how many times that when I've gone back to that person and they're like, hey, did you try that restaurant I recommended? I'm like, yep, it was delicious. Thanks for recommending it. Of course, don't say that if you didn't go, but
Right, exactly.
or ask them
Yeah,
for directions to my next, the next town
sure.
I'm going to or whatever.
Right.
But today it'd be more like some type of recommendation because we all have GPS and all that kind of stuff. So,
Mhm.
um, so that's another way you could use it because it shows that you respect their opinion about something other than the transaction that was going on,
Right.
and that's why it works is because you're respecting them as a person outside of whatever business transaction you were trying to make.
Yeah.
I'm going to show this on the YouTube channel or on the website. You'll see a link. Um,
Mm.
this is the guy who wrote the article, and he's got a free gift there. Let me put it on the screen real quick, just to give credit where credit is due.
Mhm.
Since we just spent 55 minutes ripping off his stuff, want to give him
Yeah.
some credit.
Might as well.
And this was an ebook, and it's 9 secret habits of people with very high emotional intelligence. And he's also got a daily newsletter, which I got the first edition of it today because I signed up for this, I think, yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good. Like it's a good new little newsletter. So
Mhm.
if you want that, if you're listening on the podcast, you can go to persuasionbythepint.com, look up this episode around 6 magic phrases. And if you're at the end of the episode, it's there's a weird link there. I wish I had an easier link, but that's what he's
Yeah.
got. So so that's a
Good
good place
stuff.
to get
Yeah.
more information.
Yeah. It's just our way to give him credit. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not getting any kickbacks or anything off of that. So
Nah.
we used we're just discussing his article, so we might as well give him some link juice back to his
Exactly.
offer. So
All right. Well, we've got a few minutes left, so let's have some fun with
yeah,
Chat GPT. So this is
this
going to
is
be
fun. This is gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to this.
so if you're listening on the podcast, this is going to be fairly visual. We'll read some of the answers and things like that, but I don't think you're going to want us to just read to you. So you may want to head over to either the YouTube channel or to our page, persuasionbythepint.com, and kind of look at the last. If you kind of want to see it in action and see how fast some of this stuff comes out,
Yeah.
you could go to our website and check out the last. We're at 57 minutes. Not that you're going to remember that if you're out working out or driving in your car, but there's a lot of resources there if you go to persuasionbythepint.com. All right, so Jonathan, let's start out with something as basic as kind of what we were talking about. So how about if we just said, what are
First of all, what link is this that we're?
yes. So it's chat.openai.com/chat.
Yeah.
So the first time you go to that link, it's going to take you to OpenAI's login, and you'll have to create a OpenAI account, which is free.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this tool is free too.
Yep.
And then you'll have to navigate your way back here because OpenAI is a huge platform. This is just one tiny thing inside their whole.
Yep.
I think OpenAI is going to be the biggest company in the world in 5 years. I think it'll be bigger than Apple or anybody else in 5 years. That's my opinion. It's not investment advice. You can't invest in them anyway.
We
They're
have this
private.
recorded, so
Yeah.
say
They're a private company anyway, so you probably couldn't invest anyway if you wanted to.
that's right. That's it. Exactly.
But I do think they'll be probably one of the biggest companies on the planet.
But if they're going the way that you say, Sean, they're probably going to be public one of these.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, nobody builds businesses without wanting that public money for sure.
That's right.
Elon Musk was originally a founder, but he actually pulled out of this.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
That is interesting.
But yeah, so that's chat.openai.com/chat. If you just do the hashtag ChatGPT,
yeah,
you'll find all kinds of conversations around this on any platform you're on. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. So let's say write 5 phrases I could use in sales to garner or respect from my client.
All right,
for
got
my
to change
prospects,
phrases.
right?
Is he gonna self-correct or
About
auto-correct
phrases.
phrases?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm a terrible typist.
Oh, me too.
Uh,
There we go. Here we go.
So it'll take a second or two. It's thinking. Sometimes it's super fast. Sometimes it is a little slow. So here it is. It's giving me number one. I understand your concerns and appreciate your honest feedback. And it even gives me the reason why it chose this phrase, right? It didn't just give me the answer.
Sure. Yeah.
It gave me and sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. Like I don't understand exactly,
Yeah.
how it does its thing. But so here's what it came up with. I understand your concerns and appreciate your honest feedback. This phrase shows that you are listening to the prospect's concern and value their input. I'm confident that our product's service can help you achieve your goals. That one's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's first year salesman stuff.
Right. Right.
I have a track record of helping business like yours succeed.
Very generic.
Yeah, not good. I'm happy to provide references. Nope. I'm committed to your success and will do everything I can to help you. So
again,
4 out of 5 were not
very
good.
generic. Yeah, exactly.
So we can hit try again.
Yeah, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's try again.
But the fact is that first phrase, I mean, I could use and put in my pocket and do pretty well with.
Sure.
That one's not bad.
So yeah, actually that first one's pretty good. Can you tell me more? So that's a really good way to elicit more answers. I appreciate your honesty and sharing your thoughts and feelings. You help me feel more comfortable. How can I help you feel more comfortable? That sounds a little manipulative. So let's
but it's better than what it had before.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting better as you go. As a trusted advisor in this industry, can I provide you with additional resources to answer your questions? Yeah. So I mean, that's not bad. I understand your time is valuable. Hey, just like what we were discussing earlier. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Because I mean, the fact is, if you did these things, that'd be pretty good. Yeah. So let's do.
These are much better from that first round for sure.
Right. And to think like in the past, you would have had to read like 4 or 5 marketing books or sales books, or
absolutely
go to 3 or 4 training classes. I mean, some people are already using this. I mean, this has been out for 2 weeks. And I've seen some of my marketing friends, copywriting friends, they're using this instead of Google to ask questions. That's a huge shift.
That's big. Yeah.
So, I mean, any question you ask Google, you could now ask this. Now, here's the difference. Not everything that ChatGPT, I mean, they tell you, right? If I start over, right here on the homepage, they tell you, may occasionally generate incorrect information. May occasionally produce harmful instructions or biased content. And it does not know about events after 2021.
Yeah.
So you have to be a little bit careful. Sometimes you have to, if you're getting really detailed, you have to kind of cross-check some stuff. But the speed at which it generates answers is so phenomenal.
Yeah.
That if all it did was gave you a couple ideas in 15 seconds, it's worth checking in.
Right.
So, what are some other things? Doesn't have to be around what we were talking about. I mean, it could be, while you think of a question, I'm going to write another question.
Okay.
What are the different types of craft here?
There you go.
Right. So this is something you could also do in Google, but you're going to get a little bit different answer, right? Because now Google, you're getting so much, even when you do Google searches on something like that, maybe we should do that. Let's compare a Google search with the same question and see what the difference
there are many times. Yeah.
So there's ales. Oh, and it tells you why it's an ale and how it works.
So I love that. I love the fact that it breaks down the
lagers,
the ales, lagers, and the difference between each of them.
Yeah. So now watch this.
I'm impressed.
So now watch this. Now, you, Jonathan, as a former niche book writer,
Mm-hmm.
I can
Yep.
see your brain turning already.
Yeah, big
It's
time.
like
Absolutely.
I could turn out niche book. You could turn out niche books. I mean, look at all this. Like, so far we've got ale, lager, porter,
Mhm.
stout, wheat beer, sour beer, and then there are many other types of beer as well. So I can do a couple things. I could say continue with
Oh man, this is
other beer types. That didn't go. Continue with other. It told me there was many other types. So let's see what it says. If it's thinking. Oh, it's writing. It's just below the screen. Sure. Here are a few more types of craft beer: Belgian, barrel aged, fruit beer, honey beer, spiced beer. I mean, this thing is written. I don't know what the word count is here, but I'm getting close to 250, 500 words, in 30 seconds.
That's awesome, man. I love
Right.
that.
Now let's do the same. Let's take the same phrase. What are the different types of craft beer? I'm going to go to Google. I'm going to put it in Google. And here's what I get for my first result on Google. I get basically some of the same stuff. It's a little more specific. I get one kind of, main popular blog. So then I click through to that. So it gives me a similar thing, but I don't know. This response actually feels better to me for information that I'm searching for, even than this. I think part of it is this is so much cleaner, right? It's just like, oh, this gives me the information I need, and like,
dude, I love it. It's so. I mean, I love how it just breaks it down each one.
And it's very. I mean, it's written like, in the past, AI was a little clunky. And there's maybe some things in here that if I was a actual brewmaster, maybe I could find some faults. Right now, I can't because I'm not that smart about beer. But it looks pretty accurate to me, right? But what I could do let's say I was a content copywriter, right? I could now take this, and if I wanted to beef this up a little bit, I now have my basic first draft. Now I can go in and I can start doing some research, and I can talk about the history of ale. I could talk about the history of lager. I could go in or I could just do that here. I'd be like, I could be, okay, tell me about the history of lager beer. Right, lager. Did I spell that right? You would think a guy on a beer show would know that. Right. So now I copy and pasted those first two responses into a Google Doc or whatever. So now I'm going to start breaking these down one at a time. Tell me about the history of lager beer. It's thinking. Meanwhile, I'm drinking my lager beer. While it's doing the work, lager beer is a type of beer that's fermented with bottom fermenting yeast at lower temperatures than ale. Lagers have a clean, crisp flavor that are typically lighter. I mean, I can't even read as fast as it's going.
It's amazing. I mean, it's very concise too. I love just how it's laying it out. Yeah, I mean, it's
interesting
clear,
you say
concise.
that, because a lot of my writer friends are like, "Oh, there's no emotion, there's no passion, there's no soul, there's no person."
That's not okay. So that's one aspect to look at it, but I'm not.
Right.
If I'm looking at it for information, I'm not looking for soul. I'm looking
Exactly.
for, to me, this gives me a better
Right.
understanding than if I Googled the same thing.
Right. Because now I've
So
got to sort through blogs and all this stuff.
exactly.
This is basically what this is doing is it's what's the word? Aggregating
Yes.
information into a nice, easy to read article.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Which is what blogs originally did. Sometimes blogs have too much opinion for people.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times I've searched something, and because they're they're working on SEO and they're trying to do all this stuff. Like there's this 3-page lead up to the actual information I want.
Yeah.
It's like I want to know the interactions between this supplement and this drug. And I go on Very Well Med or something like that, and it's like 2 pages of, well, here's why, the supplement was invented. Here's what it does.
Right.
And it takes me 3 pages to get to the actual interaction.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So what's another you can ask this thing anything. So
Mhm.
what would you want to ask it, Jonathan? What pressing question in life would you like to ask?
Let's see. What is a pressing
Or just curiosity?
yeah, curiosity.
Now, like I said, it probably won't do anything super timely, but we can
Mhm.
test. Let's say, here's an interesting, right? So how are odds set in Vegas?
Vegas. Ooh. That's good.
That quick.
Sportsbook.
Let's see. To set odds for a particular event, bookmakers or sportsbooks consider a variety of factors, including the perceived strength and competing teams, and blah, blah, blah. They will consider the betting patterns of their customers and try to set the odds in such a way as to balance the amount of money being wagered on each side of the event. For example, they may set the odd. This is like they're actually getting into some details here,
Big time.
behind the scenes stuff that you would need to know.
So open. So here, I mean, obviously, most people know if you Google this, you're just going to get page after page of, different links to different information.
Yeah, so let's do that again.
Whereas with this, I mean, it's very, it's clear and concise.
You'll get one good kind of search, and then a lot of stuff.
Typically, you've got the most predominant at the very top. You get a paragraph,
and then you're going to get a lot of people who are a lot of affiliate links for sure.
Yeah.
But some of this is going to happen.
A lot of that stuff.
Yeah. And that's going to happen with it. People are going to take this stuff and turn it into an affiliate, page or things like that for sure.
Right.
But yeah, like this is a really good paragraph here. For example, if a bookmaker sports book believes that Team A is more likely to win a particular game than Team B, they may set the odds for Team A to win at negative 150, and the odds for Team B at plus 110. This means you bet 150 on Team A and they win, you receive $250. Your original plus 100.
Yeah.
Let's see. It doesn't say why they do it or things like that. You can always prompt this thing to say, tell me more or continue or whatever. Sure. Here are a few more details about how odds are set in Vegas. And sometimes that's when you get the good stuff.
Yeah.
Is when you say, tell me more or continue or something like that. It's really good, I think, at list. As soon as this is done, we'll give it a list on, anything. Like, do you have anything around golf that you would want to ask it?
Yeah. Let's see how to just set, best way to lower my handicap in golf. What is the best
5 ways? You want 10 ways?
No, I just put.
What's the best way?
Yeah, what's the best way? Because then I want to hear.
Practice. That's not the answer I wanted. Yeah, so it says practice regularly, work on your short game. A good short game can make the big difference in your score. Take lessons. Yes, there's nothing earth shattering here.
No, yeah. But I was just curious.
Play with better players. That's good. Play more often.
With better players. That's actually, that's good advice. Always play with somebody higher than you.
Yeah. Play a variety of courses. Analyze your scores. So sometimes they're not super unique.
The
more specific you can be with your request.
How do you select a driver in golf? How do you select a driver? That's good.
Yeah.
Head size. Absolutely.
So you can start to see
So
like how content
loft.
is going to be, you know, so much easier to write now. I mean,
Look at that.
Jonathan.
So that's good that the flex, I actually thought that would be higher, the shaft flex, but
Yeah.
that's good that it includes it. And
Well,
I
you're
just throw
always
this
worried
out
about
there
you.
because I want to see how, this is really good. For somebody that just wants to, that really is on the outside of something and really
Yeah.
wants to start, get a good baseline. This is a
Yeah.
great starting place.
But see, here's, what you would do is you would take this result, you put it in a Google Doc,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start going back in and you say something like, uh, describe the importance of shaft flex
Mm-hmm.
for golf club.
Drivers. Yeah.
Now, if you wanted to build this out and start to build an article from it,
Mm-hmm.
you can go back in and it'll start to really like give you some meat,
Yep.
on the outline, right?
Yep.
And you think about it, this is the way we wrote all the way back in high school, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
you come up with your 5 points, you come up with your kind of your
Sure.
main points, and then you start
Mm-hmm.
doing your research. Back in
Yeah.
our day, Jonathan, it was the card catalog at the school library,
Yeah.
and you hope they had the book. Otherwise, you had to go down. I mean,
This is
luckily,
crazy how,
yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
this
we had
is,
to take field trips to like the biggest library we could find within 20 miles or 50 miles, if our local library didn't have, our school library didn't have it. Um, so
this is amazing.
you do that for each of the points that it gave you, and now you've all of a
Mhm.
sudden gone from a 150 word article to a
Yeah.
1,000 word article in a
Yeah.
decent blog post.
Yeah.
So if you want to, this is the last thing I'll show. I could play with this thing like all night, but
Oh yeah, for sure.
and it's funny because the last 2 weeks, a lot of my friends and different, you know, the writers, the entrepreneurs, all this stuff, they've all been playing with it. They've all been having different conversations about it. Some are scared, some are
No, man, why would you
amazed.
be scared of something that could help you? Think about this. Like you mentioned something earlier, Sean, because I've written several books in niche industries.
Right.
One veterinarian industry,
Yeah.
obviously the golf industry, golf and sales, marketing, podcast, all of those. Every book that I've ever published in the past has been in a very niche segment. This tool right here would have helped me big time in all of those areas, from a writing standpoint, especially
Um,
with some of the industries that I didn't have like the vet industry, where I did I did a best-selling book in marketing for veterinarians back in the day. That was extremely popular, and I didn't have anything like this. I had to rely on someone that I hired off of, you know, uh, one of these, outsourcing sites, that you find. Look at that. Persuade. Look at that. Even some great names.
yeah, those are not bad at all.
No.
Persuasion Unleashed, that's great. Persuasion Factor, like
No, this is good. Look at
so.
that.
If you
And
notice,
look at title of a book. Ask it a title of a book.
yeah,
Just
yeah. So say, give me 10 best
power persuade.
selling book titles in the what niche? Give me a niche.
Let's say in the like in the let's see, 10 best-selling title books in the let's see, should we make it business or something outside of business?
Doesn't matter.
um Investing, let's just say investing. Maybe a little too broad.
I don't think so. It'll pull something up. Okay, so that it pulled.
So yeah, it's stealing from.
Right. So I need to be a little bit more specific.
Yeah.
But that's still good information, right? Because that's like, okay,
Sure.
these are the best selling books in investing. So I could mix and match those if I wanted to. So it's still good information.
Yeah.
Give me probably the best selling, because it probably keyed off that. Give me 10 ideas for
book titles
in the investing
niche.
Texting.
This will be interesting.
How different it is. I don't know how this is converting on a podcast.
Yeah, I would say to all of our listeners, we always post the video on our show page. Yeah. So you need to be watching the video of this.
Yeah, it's also
to be able to see.
And to see how fast it's doing it. And so again, it pulled stuff that's already there.
Yeah, stuff that. Yeah,
so
exactly.
That one, that was a dud. But I'd tell you what, if I can get 3 out of 4 wins, I mean, that's I mean the amount of time I'm saving. But even knowing this, like,
sure,
it all actually almost gave me the exact same titles, which that's not good at all.
Yeah,
it's supposed to remember, as long as I don't press new chat up here.
Right.
It'll kind of remember what it's talked about.
10 more ideas.
So that's better. Because I don't recognize these titles. I would have to go.
The art. So there's a book on value investing, but I don't recognize the art of value investing.
Yeah.
So it may be adding to some existing.
Yeah. And you can do try again 3 or 4 times, and it'll force it to go deeper and deeper.
Right.
So that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
But
that's good.
So you clear that. How do I? We'll end with something like this. How do I convince my teenager in a heartfelt way to honor his curfew?
Ah.
Is that how you spell curfew? Curfew?
Yeah. Right. You got it backwards. Curfeu. Curfeu. Yeah, there you go. FEU. FEW, I'm sorry. FEW.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think you got heartfelt and stuff. You left out an A, but that's all right.
Yeah.
He probably understands it.
If he doesn't, then see if it's smart enough to. I love how it kind of summarizes what you asked it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Concerns and why you feel it's important for them. Okay, that's good. Try to understand their perspective. Yes. For alternative solutions, if there's a space. Yeah, this is good. I mean, set clear boundaries and consequences. Always good.
Yeah. Be supportive, encourage open community, remind your teenagers that you are there for them, and that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like,
Yeah, that's incredible that this can just pull up this.
Yeah.
In 4 points that quickly.
Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
It's really amazing. So yeah, if you're not watching the video, go watch the video, because I think you'll be a little bit more blown away. And it really is the quality. So here's one I played with, just for fun. I was like, and I found this to be like it helped get some emotion out of it. Because a lot of people complain it doesn't have enough emotion or things like that. So I was like, what would force it to write with a little bit more emotion? Actually, we'll do this, and then we'll do one more. I know this is a long show already, but maybe you can break it up or something.
We'll break it up in 2 parts.
So write a journal. I did this the other day. I said, write a journal entry of a 22-year-old lonely girl who is lonely on a Friday night. So my daughter's 22. And when I was first playing with this last week or 2 weeks ago, she was there. She had a friend over, actually, so she wasn't quite lonely. I was just kind of playing with things. I wanted to see what she would say once it read. So I did something like that. It was close to this. Is write a journal entry of a 22-year-old girl who's lonely on a Friday night.
Yep.
And I wanted to see what it would do. Like, does it know emotion? Does it have a sense for that?
Right.
And what it came up with last time was pretty good because I read it to my daughter and she was like, I feel like you were reading my soul, I think is what she said.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't believe I'm spending another Friday night alone. All of my friends are either out with their significant others or at parties, and I'm sitting here on the couch scrolling through social media, feeling sorry for myself. I know I shouldn't let being single define my happiness, but it's hard not to feel lonely when everyone around me seems to be coupled up. I tried to make plans with a few people, but no one was available or interested. I even considered going out myself, but the thought of being alone at a bar or club just made me feel even more isolated. I keep telling myself that it's not a big deal, that I can have a good time on my own, but the truth is that I just want someone to share my life with. I want to have someone to laugh with and confide in, someone who cares about me and makes me feel loved. Is that really too much to ask for? I know I shouldn't get too down on myself, but it's hard not to feel a little bit hopeless sometimes. I just wish I had someone to cuddle up with on a lonely Friday night. Maybe tomorrow will be a better day. That's pretty darn good.
Wow. This is AI. I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy.
The last one I'll end with, because we're in the holiday season, is write a Hallmark movie script. Not this is super hard. Let's see. Write a
Hallmark Christmas movie script. Is that what
Hallmark? Yeah. Movie script. Let's put like a something in it that would make it a little different. Write a Hallmark Christmas movie script. What's something we could kind of tweak it with, right? Featuring
Bruce Willis
beer. We'll do featuring craft beer, right? To stay on the topic with the show.
There you go.
You got to stay on brand, man. Let's see what happens. This will be we got the blinking box. It's like a blinking cursor, but it's a blinking box.
Thinking.
It is thinking. It's gathering information. Title: A Crafty Christmas. Oh, I love it. Act 1. The small town of
look at this. This is crazy.
Maple Falls. I mean, the subtle like little things. Maple, because maple's in a lot of craft beers, right? Maple's.
This is insane.
Act 1, the small town of Maple Falls is bustling. I got to read this for our
Look at this,
listeners.
Anna. It's even got a character.
Yeah. And notice like the character names are Christmas specific, right? Yeah. So let me read this for our listeners. So the prompt was write a Hallmark Christmas movie script featuring craft beer. The title is A Crafty Christmas. You had me right there. Like, I'm sold. Like, sign me up.
Beautiful.
Right? The small town of Maple Falls is bustling with holiday cheer as the annual Christmas festival approaches. The main attraction is the tree lighting ceremony, which is held at the local brewery, Maple Falls Brewery. Beautiful. As the owner of the brewery, Sam is feeling the pressure to make this year's festival a success. He has been working tirelessly to create the perfect holiday craft beer. But despite his best efforts, the recipe just isn't coming together. Meanwhile, Anna, a talented craft beer blogger, has just arrived in town for the festival. She's excited to try all of the local brews and share her experiences on her blog.
Look at this. Act 2.
As the festival gets underway, Anna starts sampling the various craft beers at the brewery. She's impressed by the quality of the brews, but she can't help noticing that Sam seems preoccupied and stressed. When she asks him what's going on, Sam confides in her that he's struggling to create the perfect holiday craft beer. Anna offers to help, and together they start experimenting with different ingredients and flavors. As they work, they start to develop a friendship, and Anna begins to see the charm and passion that makes Maple Falls Brewery so special. Act 3. After days of experimentation, Sam and Anna finally come up with a perfect holiday craft beer. They unveil it at the tree lighting ceremony, and it's a huge hit. As the town gathers around the tree, Sam and Anna share a special moment, sipping on their new creation and feeling the warmth of the holiday season. Oh. As the night comes to a close, they both realize they have found something special in each other and in the magic of Maple Falls.
Wow.
Act 4, as Christmas approaches, Sam and Anna continue to work on their craft beer and their relationship. They spend their days at the brewery, laughing, tasting new brews, and spreading holiday cheer to all who come through the doors.
That's amazing.
As the new year approaches, Sam and Anna toast to a bright future and the magic of Christmas that brought them together. End scene. Sam and Anna stand in front of the twinkling Christmas tree at the brewery, wrapped in each other's arms and surrounded by the joy and love of the holiday season.
I love that.
That's
great.
Like,
That's
you
good.
could pitch
This is
that
good.
tomorrow
This is
to
good.
Hallmark.
Oh, absolutely. No
And
doubt.
they'd be like, yeah, we can do that. We can have that done next week.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing it missed, I think, was the tension, right?
Mhm.
It's like, what is,
Yeah.
so I'm just curious, like, what
Area of struggle. Yeah.
is the tension or struggle in Act 2?
Oh, you can be that specific that you can.
Oh, you can. The more specific, the better the responses.
I mean, that you can go back into that specific.
Yeah.
Wow.
If it's immediately following, it'll reference back.
My gosh, look at this.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
So in the fictional script, A Crafty Christmas, the tension or struggle in Act 2 and Sam's struggle to create the perfect holiday craft beer for the Christmas festival. Wow. So it did have the story. I just didn't catch that as
okay.
As like usually it's the relationship.
With the fact that he is overwhelmed and stressed,
right,
which is causing him to have difficulty focusing on his.
I guess that makes sense, right? Because Anna's going to come to his rescue. She's the savior.
Sure.
Blah blah blah. Yeah,
right.
I guess it does make sense. So
and you can really accentuate that.
Yeah, I mean, you take this outline to a writer's room, and say, hey, here's the idea.
Yeah,
we'll put in the nuance, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's done. So, I mean, that's super powerful.
This is great, man. I mean, think about all the writers out there, copywriters, writers, who need are just, they suffer from the
paralysis.
The blank screen.
Yes, exactly.
They struggle with the blank screen, every day.
Yeah. And you can ask this thing anything. You can say, write me an email. And the more you play with it, the more you learn as the controller of the AI. And this is where I think, where a lot of the people who are accepting this and not fighting it are like, this is an incredible tool.
It is.
Because they're like,
because there's only so, in my opinion, there's only so far this can take you. This provides you with a lot of ideas to get started. But I'm sure that as this grows, as this,
it will get smarter
and it grows, it's going to get smarter. Yeah. It's going to get more detailed.
Yes.
But here's the thing. There's an aspect of our own human lives that we incorporate into this that is so unique. I just can't see that AI can overcome that.
And that's what a lot of my writer friends say.
Yeah.
When I read the Facebook posts and things like that.
The human element of our own foibles and our own stories in life and our problems in life that we bring to the table that are truly unique. I just don't think that AI is going to be able to replicate that. It can to some degree. And
use our phrase, I disagree.
Yeah. To some degree it can, but it's going to, I don't think it's going to be, maybe it's not going to frame it the same way that we can. So
here's the thing. One of the sayings that I've loved over the last, I don't know, 5 years or so that I've learned is that which is most universal that which is most personal is most universal.
Yeah. No.
So the things that we think are the most personal, the most unique, our biggest secrets are actually very common and very universal.
Sure.
And as AI learns that and begins to catalog those things, just like the journal entry that I had it prompt, it's going to be pretty easy to hit that emotion in those stories.
Yeah,
right. Because even great authors, when they tell their stories, it's not exactly their stories, right? They always, I mean, unless it's a memoir or something. But even then, it's through their lens of what they remember it to be, not what actually happened. I mean, if we want to get really into psychology and stuff. So I feel like, I think in 5 years, this will outright almost anybody on the planet, except maybe the top
Except for
0.5% of writers.
Yeah, I mean, guys like Stephen King, I mean, you're never going to outright or
I don't know. If I
change
fed it
his
all of
voice. I
Stephen
don't know,
King's
maybe. Yeah.
novels,
Yeah.
I think it could learn it. Absolutely. I remember when I first got started in copy, one of my copy chiefs, he was like, the way they came up, that they taught us to come up with ideas is he used the example of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right?
Oh yeah.
So you've got 3 or 4 different things all coming together to make one new thing. That's all ideas are.
Sure.
And that's the argument I had with somebody online the other day, or the discussion I had with somebody is like, they were like, well, this is only creating derivatives of what already exists. And I said, well, that's all we do as humans. We only create derivatives. We very, very rarely create something new, because the new thing is a combination of 2 or 3 old things that we've reworked.
Right.
There's nothing new under the sun, right? Is the old saying.
Yeah, I think what the challenge of people who, I mean, moving forward, they're going to have to be super creative.
Yeah.
I mean, in how they approach, they're going to have to be, from a football analogy, Sean, they're going to have to be like the Mike Leach of college football. We'll throw him in there since, mass respect. We're paying tribute to him this week. But there's a guy, everybody said this thing,
he broke
here
all
in
the
college
rules.
football. Yeah.
Yeah. He broke all the rules.
He broke all the rules. He did things his way, and he went against the grain. So and people loved him for that. He was one of the most interesting people to interview and talk to.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's funny. Like you see some of the clips, and like there's one clip going around where I can't remember which sideline reporter it was, but she was asking about wedding plans, right? Because she knew of all the coaches
he was going to get. Yeah,
he would actually answer that question.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And he would rather answer that question than something else. Like she knew that. And
yeah,
because that's just how he is. Like he'll give you his opinion on anything. But here's the thing. This is so fast and so powerful and can scan so much information ongoing that humans will not be able to keep up.
Yeah.
So what this is going to do is I think in the next 5 years, this will replace more people than the last 100 years in the Industrial Revolution. Replace people, like machines, replace people in factories. This will do in 5 years what took almost 100 years to do in manufacturing.
That's amazing.
And that's going to create a massive, massive disruption. And it's going to be interesting to see where that falls. I don't know where it's going to fall. I think it's going to free up some time. I think this may, I told my wife last night, this may be the first piece of technology that actually delivers on the promise of working less. Because if you think about it, ever since the internet and computers, we've been more productive, yes, but we've been working more and more and more and more.
Sure.
It's actually harder to get away and not work. And I think this maybe, or maybe it's just wishful thinking, will reverse that curve and actually allow us to work less. I don't know. Because I've got, my marketing friends are like, oh my God, I can now write 10,000 articles instead of 1,000, right? They're wanting to 10X it. They're wanting to Grant Cardone it and 10X it because of this. I'm like, no, why don't you just write the same 1,000, but then like take a day off, but that's what it is. But yeah, this is a huge leap forward. And I think from what I understand, and I'm open to being wrong on this, the first quarter is supposed to roll out, I think, GPT-4, which is going to allow companies like Jasper and some of the other AI companies to tap into this same level of proficiency or higher. And I think that's when people are really going to freak out. Like people are already freaking out, but it's just us geeks that are in on this stuff.
Sure.
The average population is not even paying attention yet.
Yeah.
It's mostly marketers and writers, and journalists and some teachers and things like that. I mean, I showed this to one of my daughter's friends who's in school still. I was like, yeah, you could write all your term papers with this, And I sent her the link, and
It
she's like,
is.
oh my god, it is. It's like,
Yeah.
'cause, they're talking about watermarking it though, so that I mean, there's all kinds of like ethical issues already popping up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do we watermark this? Do we have to put a disclaimer that this is written by AI? Like, how does this work going forward? Because it's so good, and it's
Oh,
starting
yeah.
to be
Think
so
about this
human.
in
Like,
back in college, man.
oh
Freaking
yeah, in
write
high school,
everything
like,
for you. I mean,
yeah,
term papers, um,
yeah. I mean, I was
completely
playing
done.
around. There's an article, I can't remember where it was, but it was an English teacher,
Mhm.
maybe Scientific American, I think. But it was an English teacher, high school English teacher, who wrote about this and her experience. And she was like, she was like, this is like the printing press, the steam engine, the blah blah blah, all rolled into one. Like, this is big.
Oh, it's great.
She's like, people do not even need the skill of writing anymore.
Well, you know, think about like if you own a company, if you're an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
or if you're the marketing director for a company, and I think about in my industry, composites, specialty chemicals, advanced materials industries. Um, this is a great resource because sometimes you want to knock out some of these freebies, what these freemiums, these white
Yeah,
papers that you just need to get out really quick. And you've
exactly.
got to get a baseline, maybe fill in the gaps, but you need a baseline for, your white paper to get out, ultra quick,
Yeah,
just to get some attraction, just to get some people to, take advantage of the offer, obviously, call to action. You've got to be doing that, always doing that call to action. These white papers in niche industries are, this is the way people attract it, right? I mean, and these are, I mean, this right here is a great way to, you know, get your baseline, fill in the gaps, knock it out. This is like, I mean, with a tool like this, maybe this is like a 2-day process where you're creating this content, to get out. So,
I'm gonna real quick. I can't resist. So, write a 1,000 word white paper on the future uses for AI, as to use as an opt in
yeah.
for
Yeah.
prospects. I don't know if it'll do it.
Do they have an app for this yet, or is it web based?
I think it's just web based right now.
Okay.
And the other day I was trying to get on it, and it was loaded. Like, they
Yeah.
had it turned off because too many people were trying to access it. I mean, it's
Mhm.
everywhere right now. So there you go.
Look at
Future
that.
of artificial intelligence opportunities and challenges. And it's going to give me 1,000 words, probably to the word. You know.
Look at that.
Um,
And to our listeners, go back up. Can you scroll back up, Sean? What did you
yeah.
post? You posted
Right up.
Sean posted right 1,000 word white paper on the future uses of AI to use as an opt-in for prospects.
Right. So they gave it the title, "The Future of Artificial Intelligence:
Mhm.
Opportunities and Challenges," which is
Yeah.
a great white paper title because it's
Mhm.
not a B2C, it's a B2B.
Right.
Um, yeah, and then it's just writing paragraph after paragraph.
That's
Just
amazing. Look at that.
now,
It hasn't stopped. It's
right? So now
crazy.
I take that, and I hand it to one of my, senior people. Um, I say, "Hey, just fact check this,
Mhm.
double check it, add in a couple pieces of, statistics or proofs,
Right.
and then send it off to graphic design, have them load it up." Like, I just cut, a week off the process,
Right.
you know, instead of assigning this to a writer, for the first draft, like, and now it's done
That's
in
crazy.
literally 30 seconds.
That's amazing.
Um, in conclusion, the future uses for AI are vast and varied, and it has the potential to transform a wide range of industries. However, it is important to carefully consider the challenges that will need to be overcome in order to realize its full potential. By working together to address these challenges, we can ensure that the benefits of AI are shared by all. Put your call to action in there and do. I mean, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like 8 paragraphs. So it's basically an essay format: intro, 5 paragraphs, conclusion, um, and about 1,000 words. Title,
Mhm.
like, it would take most people 4 to 5 hours to write that, even if they're
It's crazy.
pretty used to writing that.
Right.
Like, I know, with the little now I can take that draft, I can go punch it up with some statistics, some quotes, and things like that, which that's one thing that these things cannot do is the statistics and quotes.
Yeah.
They don't seem to do that very well because they don't like to cite sources for some reason.
That's
so
crazy.
so yeah, but if I just now take that and just plug in those things, then it's really powerful. So
Love it, man.
That's fun.
Man, talk about just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Our
Can you imagine what
audience.
David Dutton would do with? I don't know if he's played with this yet. Like, I think of David Dutton sometimes. Like, as fast as that boy is, man,
Oh yeah,
he'll have
he
6
puts stuff
books
into
out.
practice. Yeah.
I mean, he'll have
Well,
6
I
books.
mean, I'm automatically chomping at the bit, dude. I've got 2 books right next year. Boom.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
But they're niche books. They're ebooks. They're market. They're market centric.
Yeah, and see,
To
where a
the
lot of my
industry.
writer,
They're not broad books, but yeah, these are
yeah,
great. These are ebooks, like
and a lot of my
white
writer
papers.
friends get a little chip on their shoulder, and you can tell they get a little bit of like emotional charge to it.
Uh-huh.
They're like, "Well, I could do this better," and like, "Oh, it doesn't like have this or that." And I'm like,
But
"It's
no one
fine," but
cares, right?
like nobody cares. Like they just want the
It's
basic
like,
information.
that's right. That's right.
But why
Yeah,
not?
they
Why
want
not?
the like you. Yeah, that's so funny because they're forgetting the fact that people. It really depends on the your target market, but I know for a fact in my industry, people want the information. They don't care how you present it.
Yeah.
So.
And why not write the draft and then punch it up if you want to add your flair to it?
Right.
But like, let AI do the tool. Let AI do the legwork, and then punch it up. Like so. All right, well, we beat that
I love
horse.
it. I
We
love
beat
it.
that horse to death. I'm going to post this one on Facebook.
That's great, man.
Hallmark movie.
I could think. I mean, there's so many different niches. Like, I was doing holiday shopping this week, and there's just so many things, so many areas. I love hunting, so it's like I was picking up, like I was ordering a 20 gauge shotgun this week, and which I know little about 20 gauges. So this is an area. I mean, there's so many different things you could just like tap into that will just, just give you all sorts of information on these. Like,
I didn't
it's a
like hunting
resource,
gifts.
huh?
The top 10 hunting gifts.
Hunting gifts, yeah. Oh yeah,
We
dude.
did not like that. Apparently, it doesn't like hunting.
Oh really?
So there's a little bias in the
Oh
machine.
okay.
The machine right there.
Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah. So because I don't think it's an error in the system. So top 10 dad gifts.
Yeah.
Maybe it is just
Punching right. Punching.
It could just be overloaded right now.
Rifles for hunting or something like that. Because I gotta know.
Something's down right now. So something's just
Okay.
down.
Okay, probably it's overloaded.
Yeah. So anyway,
right.
I'm gonna place my Hallmark story on Facebook. See if I get any feedback
That's awesome.
on that.
Love that.
Yeah.
The crafty Christmas. That's good.
So, all right.
Good stuff, Sean. We will certainly break this for 2 episodes, part 1 and part 2. But it's been good, man. I love it. Covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody, you can find us over at persuasionbythepint.com. If you go to that, you'll find this episode will be episode 289 and 290. So we've hit the 290 mark as of this second episode. And man, we're only like 10 episodes away from the big 300, Sean. I can't wait, man. Big celebration.
Yeah.
So you can find us persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your podcast platforms, Stitcher Radio, iHeart, Spotify, you name it. And we'll see you all next week as we premiere our pre-Christmas episode next Friday.
It'll be Christmas Eve, right? Christmas Eve. So yeah.
Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. We'll probably knock out a couple of episodes then, and then it'll be fun, man. Hope everyone has a wonderful weekend and a great week upcoming as we get ready for the holidays. It's gonna be fun.
All right. See ya.
See ya.